Hi, I'm Mike Noter. This is a Mike for Spokane update for July 12th, 2015. This is the law enforcement oversight issues. We've got a couple of, several incidents we're trying to sort out and find out exactly what is going on. One of them is the Spokane Police Ombudsman Committee, which has been a mess and should have been straightened out years ago. We're still trying to get that sorted out. And then there's this incident in the valley where there's been allegations of law enforcement driving vehicles in excessive speeds without their lights on, endangering the neighborhood. Now, on the speeding law enforcement vehicles, there has been some developments that I think are somewhat positive. The sheriff came out last week and acknowledged an incident from a year ago that involved a sheriff deputy's car and a bicycle fatality. The officer was driving in excess of 70. He definitely said he was driving too fast without his lights on and was violating policy. The people that were at the time that had been protesting this, threatening to throw volleyballs at these speeding cars, they've seemed to have stood down. There's still a lot of tension between these groups, but there's some dialogue going on in the public forum, and we're moving forward, and that's a good thing. The investigation, the independent investigation, still has not been released, and it's scheduled for July 24th now, which is 2 weeks ahead, down the road here. We're getting closer, I guess. But the Spokane police chief was on a local radio station in the past week saying it's taken too long to get stuff like that out that's routine, and he was going to work to see if he couldn't get it released, and we'll see what happens there. The long lead times to get this information on a completed investigation is a problem. We pay to have the investigation done. The taxpayers have done it. But it's unusable for 90 days, for 3-4 months, because they've got to redact it. Now, in the situation with the sheriff deputy and the bicycle, that's a car and a bicycle and a kid in a public roadway. There is no expectation of privacy here. In my mind, I can't really see it. We drive down the road, we don't get our license plate number obscured, right? We don't. There may be something there, but whatever they need to take out, it shouldn't be much. If somebody's providing testimony, it's not secret testimony. If somebody was involved or near this accident, that's evidence at a scene. I don't know why you would redact anything in that particular case, but I've spoken to other people familiar with law enforcement, and they say there is indeed some issues that they may have to redact, but it should not be much, and it should not be taking this amount of time. And so I'm going to be pushing moving forward is that when we do these investigations, these very serious, they involve a fatality, and we get these findings, redact it at the time they complete it. So if we come back a year, 2, 3 years later, we don't have to sit and wonder if they're rewriting the report or if they're looking at the details and see if they match up right. That is not fair to law enforcement. That's not fair to the community. When these reports are released, it's important to understand that the law enforcement is facing some very difficult situations here, and the circumstances are not really clear to us. And we as a community, we can't jump to jump to conclusions without knowing all the full facts. In the public mindset, it seems, is that there's always either a favorable outcome or it's the police's fault. And that's not fair to police. There are some extenuating circumstances where things don't work out right, and it's not necessarily the police's fault. And in this case, on the case with the bicycle fatality, clearly no one's thinking that the officer is trying to kill this kid, and he's doing a job, he got distracted. That happens, right? That doesn't necessarily rise to the level of criminal conduct, and the prosecutor's office has already elected not to pursue that. But how we look at this stuff and how we move forward and how we set policy and how we make sure the community understands that we're getting good, we have confidence in law enforcement is part of this independent review process that Spokane really needs. Now, these reviews is not to direct the sheriff or the police or any of their officers. It's only to look at the outcomes and see if we're happy with them or if we need to go back and lobby for other conditions or other changes. And I say get these things redacted and ready to be released right away so we can restore confidence in the public confidence in law enforcement. Now, the Ombudsman Committee is a mess, and it is too long that this has been going on. It's been a decade the citizens have been looking for independent oversight. that committee needs to be reconstituted, or we need another mayor, and we need it pretty much right away. There are some other issues around town. These police issues will always come up. And to be fair to the police, if there is not an independent hearing, then that sows doubt in the minds of the public. And we don't want that. A lot of the public doesn't understand just how difficult the police, their jobs is, and how hard it is to understand what the truth and the facts are. So if we get this independent review and the citizens can look at it, they'll see what happens in these individual incidents, at least that's how the police see it, but they'll probably be able to understand that, oh, it's not as simple. You can't really jump to these conclusions and say, oh, we're going to judge these based on the outcome and not the events themselves. So that's a quick update. We're still waiting for the release of the one report that's been dragging on a long time. It's July 24th, but there has been some comments, public comments about this the issue from the sheriff and the Spokane Police Chief. The dialogue seems to be continuing in the community. I view that to be positive, and thank you for tuning in and being concerned with matters that affect the Spokane community.